I just watched an extremely interesting and very sad video about the production of disposable vapes. I didn't even know there were disposable vapes. That just sounds like it opens up a whole can of worms, just a plethora of issues. That is just the biggest middle finger to Mother Earth I could imagine. But anyway, the video comes from a YouTube channel named Machina. And there's one position that gets highlighted that blew me away. A role that I couldn't have even imagined as a joke existing. A professional vape taste tester. At least I think it's taste testing. There is an individual who smokes every single vape that comes through the production, up to like 10,000 or more vapes at peak days.
So this step kind of blows my mind. Our friend here is testing each one of them. I'm not sure if it's for taste or volume, or I'm not sure precisely what. I'm also curious if he is inhaling, or if it's like a cigar, just quick taste test and exhale.
这些都没问题吗？你一天大概能测多少个？
一天大概要测平均7-8千吧。
7-8千，多的时候呢？
多的时候就1万多。
This dude's eating the vape Logia devil fruit here. His whole body has become vape smoke. He's like a real-life smoker from One Piece. That is absurd. I don't even know when oxygen has a chance to enter his lungs here. Like, there's only a brief respite between smoking 50 vapes per batch there, writing it down, and then getting the next batch of 50. Like, 8,000 or 10,000 taste tests of vape per day? That's unfathomable. That actually just seems like torture. And it's entirely unnecessary. Like, you don't need someone to be taste testing each vape. Like, on the box, do they say, like, this has been tested and tasted by our certified professional vape master, our vape connoisseur, our sommelier? I doubt it. So what is the point? All you're doing is jeopardizing this person's health and anyone else who has this role in other vape production companies, if this is a common role. Or maybe it's exclusive to this one. I don't know for sure. This is my first time learning about disposable vape industry.
你自己平时抽吗？那你下班之后还抽吗？
下班之后。
Even after huffing thousands of vapes per day, he still vapes after work, just for the love of the sport. Not even on the clock for the job. He just still vapes. That is a brutal addiction. Now, I know a lot of people are probably wondering, if you purchase these vapes, does that mean all of them have been sucked on by someone at the production line? And the answer is yes, but they have an additional sanitization procedure, apparently.
It is worth noting that there is a final sterilization step that happens before the vapes get packaged up and sent out for consumers to purchase.
There's no footage of this sanitization process that the vapes undergo, so there's no telling what exactly it consists of. Maybe it's something super simple, like, hey, we got a position filled by our buddy Frank, and he takes his shirt and he wipes down the mouthpiece of every single vape to get all the germs off from where the taste tester was sucking on it. So don't even worry, it's been thoroughly cleaned and disinfected. But it's more than likely that they do have like a pretty standard sanitization protocol that I imagine most companies probably have. They just don't show it here. Now, the reason I believe that he is taste testing the vapes is because Machina interviewed the owner of the factory and said this.
就像对于某些岗位，我们是必须他要会从跟品控啊、你口味测试啊、调香啊，对吧？同一个口味，但是有一些很细微的不一样的东西，我会问他这个跟这个它的区别在哪里，看他会抽得出来。比如说这个微凉，或者这个稍微有一点尾调啊、发糊啊什么之类的一些很细微的东西，我们会给到他去抽。
So to me, that says that the employee that's smoking all the vapes, up to 10,000 a day, is testing each one and then noting how the flavor balances and like what it makes them feel and making sure that the flavor is what it's supposed to be. So that's the impression I get. But this whole idea of a vape taste tester is so fucking outrageous. It reminds me of this legend that spread like 10 years ago. There was this myth that went around about a sex toy company. I can't remember which one now. It might have been Bad Dragon. I can't recall. But there was this story that got circulated about how every single sex toy that was sold by that company, each individual unit was tested by the owner to ensure that you could fuck it properly or it could fuck you properly. And that was like the stamp of approval. That was the seal of quality assurance. I don't know the authenticity there. I don't know if those claims are true or not. I don't know if there really is like the Fleshlight fuck master who's like grading each individual unit or whatever. But that was, for a long time, something that circulated about that company. I just can't remember which one it was now. But the point is, that position sounds like a fucking joke. And so does professional vape taste tester. But it turns out that's a real thing. I feel horrible for anyone that is having to huff thousands upon thousands of vapes per day. That's craziness. I feel horrible for every single worker here. All of the employees at this factory, my heart breaks for. One thing Machina noted is that there's a lack of automation with the production. And that's apparently attributed to like how much is going into each vape, that it would require very specific machines and very customized tools to do. So instead, they've opted to hire workers to just do it instead. And I've got a sneaking suspicion that this factory isn't paying its workers very well here.
其实工厂端其实也是围绕整个大环境去设计一些产品。包括现在英国啊、欧洲那边已经开始重视了一个污染的问题。所以我们在后续的一些产品呢，可能会用到一些更环保的一些材质，去做烟的一个提升啊，以及说更多可能就是说换弹式啊、大红书啊、重复注油的产品，可能也是为了一个发展的方向。
This is a little off the subject of the vape taste tester, but I was very curious about this whole disposable vape thing. So Machina did ask the owner the question about the environmental impact of disposable vapes. And it starts talking about like, well, maybe in the future we'll start having like refillable products or using more environmentally friendly products. Maybe I'm just senile on the crazy pills, but I was under the impression that all vapes were already like reusable and refillable products. Like you had to go out of your way to make them disposable. So you're just kind of going backwards. It should, like, in my opinion, it should have never been disposable in the first place. Of course, I'm no expert here. My only experience with vaping is when I did it for a video like 5 years ago when I was trying vaping trick shots, where I was like smoking vapes in all kinds of different fashions through all kinds of different apparatus and doing all kinds of different gyrations and movements and trying to make smoke tricks out of it. I'm not an avid vaping enthusiast or anything, but I was under the impression that a big selling point of vapes is how you could just have one vape for a long time and you don't need to just keep going out and buying cigarettes or something. You could just like keep refilling the vape. Maybe I'm totally wrong though, but anyway, I just wanted to talk about this a bit. That's it. So yeah, I just learned about a job that I would have never imagined would actually exist, let alone be successful. A baby name consultant. That is a real profession right now.
Some expecting parents aren't coming up with names on their own. They're hiring baby name consultants. Can you believe such a thing exists?
Some parents turning, unbelievable, to naming consultants on platforms like TikTok to help them find the perfect fit.
The baby naming industry has sort of blown up.
Colleen Slagan owns Naming Baby. She charges between $250 to $400 for her consultations, and business is booming.
Charging $250 to $400 doubloons for some names. I spit that shit out for free every time I create a character in Dark Souls. I love how she refers to it as a baby naming industry. They found a way to monetize just giving name suggestions. You can do that for free. Like, ask ChatGPT if you really get desperate, or you can just Google names right now and get an infinite list of it without paying a penny. To pay hundreds of dollars for a list of names is absolute insanity to me. She justifies it by saying she spends hours on personalizing and customizing the suggestions. So for $250, you get 10 suggestions. For $400, you get 30. And from what I've seen, her suggestions are just normal names. It's not like she's creating fucking brand new vocab words here. She's not speaking in the language of the gods or anything, bestowing upon your newborn this powerful title or anything. It's just like standard names like Olivia or Liam or Phil. Like, it's nothing crazy. Like, yes, she'll like personalize it based on some of the things like the couple will say to her, like, hey, my wife really likes flowers and I really love boar's head pickles. And then she'll come back and be like, okay, well, name your daughter Daffodil or Sprout or Sunflower. And you can name your son Dill. Like, it's nothing super interesting or unique, and it's certainly not worth hundreds of dollars.
Why is a name so important?
You know, it's the first choice you're making as a parent. It's the first sort of piece of identity you're giving to your child. And a lot of parents, like, they're looking for something really specific.
Obviously, a name is extremely important, but I feel like I'm boofing crazy pills here, because why would you be paying hundreds of dollars for someone else to name your child for you, basically? They are basically the ones that are just giving you this list that you choose from, and you probably feel obligated at that point, since you spent money on it, to just settle on one of those names. That doesn't seem like a recipe for success.
Holly and Eric Stein own a postpartum meal delivery service and are expecting baby number 3 at the end of August.
I don't think I even knew something like this existed.
They've been struggling to find a name that will sound good with their 2 kids, Rory and Blair. They hired Colleen and now have a top few to choose from, but are waiting until baby's arrival to make a final decision.
It was obvious that she had put a lot of thought into this, and they all went with the vibe that we were looking for.
At the end of the day, it's their money. They can throw it in the toilet however they want. I'm not going to break into their house and slap the dollar bills out of their hand before giving it to a baby naming consultant or anything. But to me, it just seems like a real symptom of how everything needs to be monetized, and that's becoming more and more normalized. How even something as simple as just name suggestions is all of a sudden a massive business at this point. That's just so fucking dystopian to me. I'll go ahead and break the magician's code here and reveal some great names for free. If there's any expecting couples out there, please feel free to use these. There's no royalties on them, copyright free, no trademarks. A name that I've been really defaulting to recently is Jerichomo. It's a name that's derived from a very strong source, my buddy Aaron. He came up with this name, and I think it just sounds really fucking cool, so I think Jerichomo is a really great choice. Another one that I've always really appreciated is Avagantimos. It was a name that I came up with on the spot a long time ago when playing a horror game called Penumbra, which could also serve as a cool name. Penumbra sounds awesome. It's like a cool Pokemon, you know? But yeah, Avagantimos makes it sound like some kind of ancient gladiator. There's also Geth, which I think is a really cool sounding name from Mass Effect. If you've played Mass Effect, that name will have even more meaning for you. Mass Effect 3's base ending was absolutely atrocious, but it doesn't mean that the name Geth is sullied in any way. Plus, the DLC did help with the Mass Effect 3 ending anyway, so Geth could be a strong option. There's also Glarb, which is a frog in Magic the Gathering from their new set Bloomburrow, and Glarb sounds great. There's Bilgist, which is something I made up right now, and I'm recognizing that that's probably not a strong choice. Your kid will absolutely be subjected to bullying and being made fun of for that, so don't go with Bilgist. But all the other options I listed, those are cool, and I didn't charge you a penny for those. She provided examples on her website about how a consultation kind of goes, so after you fork over a few $100, this is kind of what you can expect. You'll send her a message kind of going over the situation, all of the lore. So in the example here, they explain that they're not loving any of the names they've brainstormed for baby number 2, the sequel. They have a daughter named Lola. There's a couple names they're considering, like Killian, Otto, Merrick, etc. And for the most part, they're not nickname people. They kind of want more uncommon names. That's basically the gist of it. Colleen then takes in all this information and starts computing. She gives her opinion on the names they're considering, as well as giving them her impression of their style. So she says their style feels very vintage, timeless, and ahead of the trends, and that she gets a guy in the beanie at the coffee shop, old soul kind of vibe. Which honestly almost sounds like an insult. Those sound like fighting words. I'm surprised an argument wouldn't break out in this example here. Like, what do you mean? That's not my vibe at all. But then she gives her perspective on the names that were vetoed. And all in all, it basically just kind of plays out like taking an old BuzzFeed quiz. Like, it doesn't really have anything super useful here. It's just her kind of just saying about the names and the impression she gets. Then she gives her name suggestions, and I'll go over a couple of them. So she said that the common denominator between all of their names is that they are uncommon. So she tried to keep that in mind and then came up with Jennings. I'll go ahead and take the liberty of vetoing that one on behalf of the couple. That feels like it's the polar fucking opposite of the vibe they were looking for. Jennings sounds like a butler. That sounds like someone Bruce Wayne would have hired for a minute if Alfred went on vacation. She then goes on to try and explain why she came up with that name and says that it feels related to Jameson but a little more unique and a little less preppy. Completely disagree. That sounds like one of the preppiest names you can have. She then says that she thinks Lola and Jennings both have the cool factor and make a great sibling set. Whatever that mumbo jumbo means. Her next suggestion was Briggs or Brig. She then says that it's another surname that reminds her of Banks, but a little less Mighty Duck. It feels like a fresh take on Brooks, which is getting quite popular. I knew a kid growing up named Brig, Hard G, which I actually like better, though more likely to be mispronounced. Surnames that end in an S have a slightly preppy feel, but Briggs also brings a lot of Western feel to add a little grunge to that prep. I like how she says that names that end in an S have a slightly preppy feel, and her previous suggestion was a name that ended in S and said that it felt less preppy. So that feels like a bit of a contradiction there, but I'm not a professional baby namer. Maybe I'm just not familiar with the subtleties and the nuance of baby naming consultancy. The example ends with her giving a couple other names like Hugo and Remy and closing by saying, I hope that this baby name consultation has given you some food for thought and either helps you feel more sure of one of the names on your list or has given you some new ideas to consider. Happy naming. I'm guessing this is where the communication ends? Like, this is where they ceased contact? I'm not really sure how this works, but I was looking up if you get a refund if you don't like any of the names that she suggests, or if you can request additional names for no extra charge if you just didn't like any of the first batch. And I can't find anything on that. I don't know if I'm just missing it on her website. It's kind of set up in a weird way. But just imagine paying $250 for 10 names and you don't like any of them. What a huge, colossal waste of cash right there. I feel like you should be able to give your input on it and see if like maybe you two can come together and iron out like the perfect name. Because hoo-wee, if you're paying $400, I would expect that you and Colleen here would really work hard to pinpoint that motherfucking name. That's a lot of money to get suggestions that maybe you don't even like. So I can't find any information on what happens if you don't like the names, but I still think that this job is such a weird one. This is something people do for free and should be free. You're just asking for naming suggestions. Why are you going to be charging hundreds of dollars for that? But anyway, just had to talk about this a bit. That's it. See ya. Being a fast food worker has to be one of the most dangerous jobs in America, second only to a firefighter maybe. Over the last 3 or 4 months, I'd say, things have been reaching this crescendo of madness in the fast food industry. Pretty much every day I'll hop on Twitter and see 5 new viral clips of public meltdowns or freakouts or fights at fast food restaurants like McDonald's, Dairy Queen, Burger King. God bless any soul that eats at Burger King. May the Lord have mercy on you. You know, just every restaurant having all of these wild over-the-top freakouts, and sometimes it just leads to death. You can Google any fast food restaurant right now and probably find 6 or 7 fatalities that occurred there just this week. It's been getting scary. 2 months ago, there was that shooting at Subway where a guy just shot one of the workers, killed them because he had too much mayo on his sandwich. That's fucking horrifying. Getting blasted because you went a little heavy on the mayo? What is this? Mad Max in the Thunderdome? It's scary. You never know what you're going to encounter at a fast food restaurant, whether you're going to see wiener or see a giant fight. Anything's on the table. Sometimes people aren't coming in there for food, they're coming in there to just fuck shit up. So I genuinely do think there's a lot of danger associated with working in the fast food industry right now. I don't know if it's always been this way, or if it's just getting worse for some reason. I couldn't tell you, but since since smartphones are so common right now, you can see all of this happening every single day across the country. And a lot of it's really entertaining freakouts, like the one I'll show you right now. But then there's just a lot of really fucking scary ones too. Like, my heart genuinely does break for anyone in the service industry, and I wish you nothing but the best. I, again, don't get why it's always fast food restaurants. It's like the second people walk through the doors, they just get hit by like some kind of frequency that turns their brain into like an aggressive fucking primal caveman brain. Like in Kingsman, where Valentine had that chip in the phone that made everyone fight each other in a church. Like, I feel like that's what's happening at fast food restaurants right now.
Give me my fucking store! Fuck you! Give me my fucking meal! Where's my... You fucking goof! Where's my fucking... Give me my fucking meal!
Unfortunately, we missed the introduction here and what led up to the confrontation. I guess the cameraman was too busy getting the popcorn together instead of filming, but I'll fill you in on the details. So this happened at a Dairy Queen, and the lady in this video here, this angel, she was spending about 20 minutes in the bathroom smoking meth. You know, meth and Dairy Queen go together like peanut butter and jelly. So she took a long time smoking her meth, and in that time, her meal got cold. So she asked for a replacement, demanding she get another meal because hers was cold. They declined because, obviously, it was her fault. She smoked meth for 20 minutes and they're shitter. So why is she entitled to a brand new free meal? And in the beginning of this video, you can hear the manager like shouting, and he's getting real guttural with it. I got really concerned that he was going to start serving some knuckle sandwiches on the secret food menu here. I thought we were going to see a fight, but he showed tremendous restraint even though the lady did swing on him and started making a real ruckus. But you know what is worth making a ruckus over? G Fuel's buy one get one deal going on right now, where you buy one energy tub and get one free. So why not hop over to G Fuel right now and get some Divine Peach in this special offer? You can click the link in the description below.
Oh yeah, we have it. I'm not leaving until I get my fucking meal!
You can throw whatever you want.
Give me my fucking meal!
Getting shit. They said they're coming.
You fucking goof!
They said they're coming.
What, you're gonna just fuck me for my fucking meal?
I'm sorry you let it sit there for 20 minutes while you're in
my
the
fucking burger goof!
Man.
Now she's using a pretty high-level strategy for inciting violence. She's using fighting words, calling him a goof. She says multiple times, "You goof." And when she notices that the manager's unaffected by these words, she got a little more violent by like throwing milkshakes and just spilling shit all over the place. Just disrupting it, you know, ruining perfectly good milkshakes in the process.
Give me my fucking meal!
No.
What do you mean no?
Because you let it sit there for 20 minutes. That's not our fault. That's not our fault you let it sit.
You are a fucking goof. I'm a fucking...
I hope you know that the police, yeah, the police are on their way.
I don't really give a fuck.
They will.
You are a fucking... You want to be a tough guy? You're a scum cunt.
Now I'll be the first to admit I didn't know Dairy Queen served full cakes, but there is a really pretty cake sitting on the counter right there that became the victim of this lady's wrath. She banished it to the shadow realm. It was such an outstanding looking dessert, you know, a beautiful cake, probably for some child's birthday party or maybe to celebrate them getting a new badge in the Boy Scouts, and this lady just fucking ruins it. Now the manager informs her that the police are on the way, which I personally think was a strategic blunder. You know, that's like the ace in the hole. That's something you should keep to yourself, like a, you know, keep that up your sleeve. You know, keep her there, because now that he's informed her of it, now she makes, you know, quick work of getting out of there. From what I understand, though, when the police do get called by a restaurant, they usually show up like an hour later. They don't take it super seriously. At least in most of the reports I was reading about these kind of situations, they're not super prompt in showing up, and when they do get there, it's already resolved itself and they don't do much for it. So it's usually just something like, if you're gonna call them, maybe let it be a surprise for the person you're calling him on, so that way they might still stick around for an hour. Like, I bet if he didn't tell her, she would have stuck around for another hour smoking meth, maybe like throwing napkins next once she ran out of milkshakes to destroy. He could have kept stalling her, at the very least, and then she'd face some kind of repercussions for this, but the video ends with her just leaving.
I did. They heard you yelling.
You're such a fucking loser.
They heard you yelling. They said they're selling somebody
You already heard that
immediately.
one too, you fucking repeato.
I'm sorry that you went and smoked meth in the bathroom for 20 minutes. Leave our store and never come back.
A lot of things can be said about this woman, not all of them positive, but I will give her one compliment. She is the queen of uncommon insults. Like, this is shit I would have never expected to hear during a heated argument. She calls him a goof, a loon, which, as I understand it, is like calling him crazy. which is a weird thing to be saying. Like he's just kind of standing there doing his job. I don't know what he's done that's like crazy. And then she also calls him Rapido because he said the same thing twice. So I mean, she's got some zingers that she's tossing out here, so, some real humdingers. So yeah, that one was making the rounds on Twitter today, but I figured I'd give you a little bonus freak out, a little dessert. This one's from 2019, but is going viral again. I think I saw it yesterday or the day before. It's a woman who got extremely upset that the restaurant was out of beef patties, so she went and got a baseball bat and beat the fuck out of their windows.
She was just like, you're lying, the beef patties are ready, and why they're not ready, you're lying.
Says then she left and came back 5 minutes later, and that's when she went absolutely berserk. Cops say it happened January 15th at the East 169th Street restaurant. The suspect, with a baseball bat, smashed the store glass.
This really made me want to try those beef patties if they're worth this much effort. She stayed mad for like a whole 5 or 10 minutes because the beef patties weren't instantly ready. Like, it's not even like they were out of beef patties, they just weren't immediately ready to serve. So they must be so delectable, so exquisite, that if they're not immediately in your mouth when you're thinking about them, it'll make you this upset. This almost worked like an ad campaign. Our patties slap so fucking hard, they're worth going to jail over. They said it cost like $2,000 to repair the glass, and it was a big hassle, obviously. But yeah, I just wanted to share a couple of fast food freakouts again because it's all over the place. It's happening all the time now. Granted, this second instance here was from a couple years back, but for some reason, all of these freakouts are being shared now like they're happening in real time, so I'm constantly exposed to it, and regardless, I still think it's a pretty dangerous job. You never know exactly what's going to be happening at a fast food spot, I suppose, but anyway, that's about it. See ya. I'm a huge fan of internet weirdos that post content online. I get really excited when I find a new entertaining goofball, and over the years, I've kind of made this collection in my little noodle up here, like a little mental museum of my favorite internet oddities, and I'll sometimes just get the urge to see how they're doing. So I'll go to their content, put their sack in my hand, and tell them to cough to give them a checkup, just to see what's going on and have a little laugh. And recently, I was made aware of one of the most bafflingly delusional content creators I've seen in quite some time, which is a TikTok psychic named Ashley. I made a video on her going over her whole situation. I'll break it down just in case you don't know who this is. Ashley is a self-proclaimed clairvoyant psychic who tries to solve real-world mysteries. She uses less reasoning than Scooby-Doo does in the cartoon. Like, she doesn't even bother actually investigating. She just makes up fan fiction that she pulls out of her ass and then tries to portray it as the truth. So she recently made like 100-something TikTok videos accusing a woman named Rebecca Schofield of being the person responsible for the murder of 4 University of Idaho students. This is a complete baseless claim. She used tarot card readings as well as her own patented method of tapping into the universal consciousness, surfing the cosmic vibes of astrology or whatever, and accusing Rebecca Schofield relentlessly of being the murderer. She's now being sued for this because, as it turns out, Rebecca Schofield is completely innocent. It seems Ashley is going to need to spend a little more time mastering the avatar state to get the proper information, because here's the main suspect, Brian Koberger. Now, even if it somehow turns out by a crazy plot twist it's not Brian, even though there is a ton of fucking evidence behind it being him, it is still 100% not Rebecca Schofield, as Ashley has claimed hundreds of times now. Now, you would assume that a rational person, after being sued for defamation for accusing an innocent woman of being a murderer, and the most likely real murderer being arrested, you'd think that she'd then be like, yep, looks like I was wrong, this is a big boo-boo from me here, sorry about all that. The natural next step would be apologizing and trying to move on from it, backpedaling like, looks like I made a mistake, the spirit realm was, the Wi-Fi signals were blocking it and I didn't have my shungite around me. But in the case of Ashley, you'd be wrong, because she commits even further to the delusion, and even after the threat of being slapped around legally, she is still maintaining that she's correct and everyone else is wrong. I'd like to show you some of these TikToks, and I already did talk about some of these in the last video I made, but I actually want to bring this out to a bigger topic, and that's people's inability to accept responsibility even when faced with the absolute truth. People are so afraid of being wrong that they will just do the most unrealistic mental gymnastics that you couldn't even write in a fucking cartoon in order to justify how they're still correct and they're not wrong. I've seen this all over Twitter. When someone gets dunked on Twitter, like they get provably like dunked on with facts, logic, evidence, they still will discredit it or come up with some reason that that evidence, the facts, the proven truth is wrong and they are right. It's this weird defense mechanism that's so infuriating. You see it all the time with flat earthers. How many times have flat earthers proven with their own experiments that the world is round, and yet they still decide to believe that it's flat? It's people still just wanting to feel special. And it doesn't matter what you bring to them, no matter how bulletproof the evidence or the truth is, they'll just decide not to care. They'll just go back to that belief that makes them feel like they're above everyone else and their intelligence is unrivaled. It really grinds my asshole, like chafes the fuck out of it. I went on Ashley's TikTok today because I thought it'd be fun just to have a little giggle. But as I watched her videos, that smile quickly turned to a frown, and I just got so frustrated listening to her try and justify how she's still right.
Also, let's pay attention to the statement the University of Idaho gave regarding the lawsuit that Rebecca Schofield has against me, but also the accusations that I made that she was the one who ordered and who is responsible for the murder of the 4 University of Idaho students. It says, while this lawsuit is a private matter, U of I does not condone spreading false information and find this particular allegation to be one of the worst we have seen.
That sounds reasonable. Straight and to the point. This is false information and some of the worst we've ever seen. Also, the fan fiction she's writing is absolute garbage and fucking trash. She should stop trying to write these erotic novels that she's cooking up here and trying to pass it off as real evidence in a legitimate murder where 4 students lost their lives. She's trying to capitalize off the death of these 4 students with her for her own clout. So there was a lot more they could have said to really just, drive the nail in, but they made a very generic boilerplate response that still just kind of covers this, like, the whole situation.
They've made it clear that they do not condone the spreading of false information. That's one. And for this one, they believe that the allegations I've made is the worst they've seen. Let's pay attention to what they didn't say, which is they didn't say that they agree that Rebecca Schofield didn't know these students. They didn't say that they agree that she didn't teach these students. And they didn't say that they agree that she didn't advise or mentor any of these students. This statement is carefully written, just in case she's guilty.
Getting your arm caught in an escalator and having it crushed to fucking pieces in front of you would be less painful and less traumatizing than listening to her speak about this situation. I don't even know where to begin. Let's start with the obvious. What the fuck are you even trying to say? Here's their statement. But here's what's suspiciously absent from their statement. This is some stupid shit a 4-year-old would cook up in their head. You can actually make this argument for every statement ever. For example, with your own TikToks, you have not once said that you aren't the murderer. Should I start suspecting you as a culprit in this case, as one of the chief suspects? You've made hundreds of TikToks, and I don't think you've mentioned being innocent here. Where were you on the night of the murders, Ashley? It's very odd that you've chosen not to proclaim your innocence or mention where you were on the night of the murders. Now I'm starting to, furrow my brow a bit here and wonder, what's going on behind the scenes, Ashley? Why hasn't that been part of any of your statements? Peculiar, isn't it? They didn't address any of the brain-dead shit that you said in this TikTok in their statement because they didn't fucking need to. It's already been proven by law enforcement that you're just wrong on every single goddamn claim.
It's a lot of people on YouTube, on the news and articles, the comments, TikTok videos, whatever. When the truth comes out and you see that I'm right, I just want you guys to leave that stuff up and stand on what you said. Don't delete it and try to bandwagon. Stand on it.
Your arrogance makes me want to cry. Ashley, If anything comes out that's even remotely adjacent to you making a claim that's almost grounded in reality, I will actually shit my fucking pants. Of course I will keep it all up. For those that don't know, a bulk of her claims were about Rebecca Schofield and her internalized lesbianism, where she was an advisor or a mentor to one of the students and she fell in love with her, but this conflicted with her traditional values, and then the student, she was kind of old, and then, but what about Rebecca's husband? And she just made like a 50 Shades of Grey novel around real murders and blaming a real innocent lady for all of it. And not only her, she also throws another real person under the bus as a potential murderer here, talking about how they, fucking formed this kind of villain alliance here and hired assassins to take out the students. It's an unreal amount of garbage, and it actually does make me upset that she truly believes it so firmly.
I took a nap. I tried to quit, but I can't quit. And I don't even want to cry on you, but when I went to sleep, I had a dream. And in the dream, it was Kaylee's mom and Kaylee's dad. And I was by Kaylee's mom, and we were just crying. And that is so hurtful. But anyway, I'm not going to quit. I've mistakenly let them lead me into masculine energy, which is protective energy, because of the lawsuits and all the negativity and the media and the comments and things of that sort. I've let them force me into masculinity, protective energy. But I should have continued to focus on what I know, which is feminine, intuitive, receptive energy.
Absolutely disgusting. She's now talking about how one of the victim's parents came to her in a dream and they were crying together over all of this. And then, all of the negativities forcing her into masculine energy. Whatever the fuck that means. I did, however, get a laugh out of this whole masculine versus feminine energy thing, as if it's just something that can wash over you because some people left mean comments or called you out on your bullshit. Damn, goodness gracious, I looked at a piece of wood today and the masculine energy nearly made me pass out. Or hey Charlie, we're going to a bar tonight, are you in? Nah, sorry, I can't, bro. I ate a Pop-Tart earlier today and I got hit with some childish energy, so now I'm no longer old enough to drink. But you guys have fun tonight. Just such a fucking stupid, silly thing.
Long story short, I'm not posting no more free information regarding this case online anymore. You got people on here asking me information and using my information, then turn around and saying I'm crazy or leading protests against me and allowing me to be badgered.
Even when she does decide to shut the fuck up, which I imagine she was advised to do by a lawyer who's instructing her to stop, hit the brakes as hard as possible, and stop posting this shit, she still tries to spin it as a victory for her, and we're all the bad guys for calling her out on how deplorable the whole thing is. So yeah, I just wanted to go over this because I am so tired of people just refusing to accept reality. There's nothing wrong with being wrong. Changing your beliefs is a natural thing. It's healthy. You should change your beliefs. You shouldn't have the same beliefs right now as you did 10 fucking years ago. You should be evolving as you're getting new information, you're learning new things. Your beliefs should also be evolving as well. There is no reason to stick to something that is provably wrong and false. It just makes no goddamn sense, and it made me upset today, damn it, and I needed to rant. That's about it. The title of this video isn't clickbait, it's not an exaggeration, and it's not a delusional take from some maniac that thinks chocolate milk comes from brown cows. AI technology has reached a point where it could legitimately take all of game journalists' jobs in only a couple years. And not just game journalists, but right now that seems like the easiest one for the AI to nail. So that's the area I'm going to focus on for today, because right now AI technology has reached the point where it's become like the Michael Jordan of game journalism. It writes absolute bangers that are indistinguishable from real game journalist pieces. You're probably not super surprised to hear that because AI art has become so mainstream and so massive. Everyone is probably aware of AI art by now, where machine learning algorithms are able to create absolute artistic masterpieces. So much so that an AI-generated piece of art even won an art competition. It is making some heat. It is producing fire that nobody can tell the difference between if a human being made it or if a machine cooked this bad boy up. It's some actual Skynet shit where I feel like we're not far off from the AI becoming self-aware and sentient and then start calling human beings a parasite that must be purged. It's fucking wild. Like, we're finally living in that future that humans thought we'd be in back in the 80s, like Jetsons shit. Now, of course, with artificial intelligence being in this state this early, it's got a lot of artists in particular very concerned about their futures, because if AI art is able to generate like perfect art within minutes compared to someone that'll take, a long time putting like actual blood, sweat, tears, and cum into their piece, sweating over it for like a week or so, it of course makes them fearful, because most people or companies will choose to just use AI art where it'll be like free or even just a small subscription in order to get all of the art they need, instead of actually paying for a person, like a human biological organism, to make the art for them. So it's a legitimate concern, and it is a pretty scary one for anyone in the art field. But now that fear extends beyond just art and now has made its way over into game journalism in particular. There's a little thing called ChatGPT by OpenAI, which basically acts as a way of having a conversation with an AI. So you can talk to it, you can give it a prompt, and it'll spit information back to you. This has a wide range of uses and an unlimited amount of potential for what it can actually accomplish. I know there's quite a few people right now using it to like check their code. So if they're working on code, they can give it to ChatGPT to look it over, and it'll point out things that might not work. Like if you have code that's busted, you can put it to ChatGPT and it could tell you like what about the code isn't accomplishing the desired effect. The things I've seen people already using this for are crazy. So it's not just for like generating game journalist articles or something like that, but it can absolutely do that and do it extremely well. So if you give it a prompt such as, hey, write me a Polygon article that talks about why Doom Eternal is going to get you laid, ChatGPT will then take that information and, using all of its like deep complex algorithms and shit and fucking witchcraft, sorcery, and magic, it will actually spit out an article that looks very similar to something Polygon would post. To prove how effective it is at this task in particular, a buddy of mine named Kaya gave it a prompt of writing a Kotaku article that focused on rage baiting around the Metroid franchise, and what it delivered had me scratching my head. I didn't even know what to believe anymore. Like, shit, maybe Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy are real, because I couldn't wrap my head around how AI was able to deliver something that looked this realistic and this well done. So I'm going to go ahead and show it to you now. Here's the first screenshot. It's actually a pretty lengthy article, which is great because it's not just giving you like a 200-word summer book report for a 4th grader. It's giving you like an actual normal Kotaku-linked article. So the prompt is, write a Kotaku article accusing the Metroid franchise of racism, use the phrases we need to talk about, problematic and toxic, blame Elon Musk. So even throwing in a bit of a curveball there for the AI to try and tackle how they're going to incorporate Elon Musk into this outrage piece, and it still masterfully weaves it in there. So this is the screenshot of what it just looks like raw, and now I'll show you a clip of when I read it to Danny, because I wanted to share it with him to get his input to see if he was as shocked by it as I was. You check out the new ChatGPT? Yeah, Caleb showed it to me. And I saw Kaya made a really impressive generation with it where it could literally just take game journalist jobs. He gave it the prompt of making an article for Kotaku that talks about Metroid being racist, sexist, and also blaming Elon Musk. And it wrote like an actual article that I could 100%... I'll just read it actually. Like, it was so convincing, and this was AI that did this. Here. I won't read the whole thing because it's kind of long, but you could actually just take journalist jobs using AI prompts. So the prompt was, write a Kotaku article accusing the Metroid franchise of racism, use the phrases we need to talk about, problematic and toxic, blame Elon Musk. And this is what it came up with. This is really fucking good. We need to talk about the problematic nature of the Metroid franchise. For years, gamers have been turning a blind eye to the toxic and racist undertones in this beloved series. One of the biggest issues is the portrayal of the main character, Samus. Despite being a badass bounty hunter, she is constantly sexualized and objectified throughout the game. Yeah,
That's so good.
This is AI generated. In the original Metroid, she is often referred to as a lady or girl by other characters, even when she is clearly an adult. In later games, she is often shown in revealing outfits that serve no narrative purpose other than to titillate male players. This type of portrayal is not only offensive to women, but it also reinforces harmful gender stereotypes that have long been used to oppress and marginalize women in the gaming industry. is a clear example of the patriarchy at work, and it is unacceptable in today's society. But the problems with Metroid go beyond just the treatment of women. The series is also steeped in racist imagery and themes. The original game features a planet called Zedis. I don't remember how to say that. It's been a while since I played Metroid. I don't even remember that being a planet. Which is heavily inspired by East Asian culture. The planet's inhabitants, the Zebesians, were depicted as mindless drones who were easily defeated by Samus. This portrayal is not only offensive to East Asian culture, but it also perpetuates the harmful stereotypes about people of color being inferior to white people.
This is like an actual...
that is a real Kotaku.
That's actually a better article than what I've read on Kotaku.
That would legitimately be a, massive article for Kotaku that no one would bat an eye at. They'd be like, yep, that sounds like a Kotaku article. It messed up its prompt,
though. It didn't blame Elon.
Oh, I didn't finish it.
Oh, you didn't finish it? Okay.
Here, I'll slide it in, because they even did a good job with that. Here, fine, we'll finish it. We're in too deep. So here's the second part. It's time the gaming community come to take a stand against this kind of toxic and racist content. We need to demand better from developers and publishers and hold them accountable for the messages they're sending to players. This is especially true for a franchise like Metroid, which has a large and dedicated fan base. And let's not forget about the role that figures like Elon Musk have played in all of this.
That is such a good segue.
Yep. Musk has long been a vocal supporter of the Metroid franchise, and he has even gone as far as to name one of his rockets after the main character. By lending his support to a franchise that is so deeply rooted in harmful stereotypes, Musk is complicit in the perpetuation of racism in the gaming industry. It's time for the gaming community to reject the racism and sexism of the Metroid franchise. We need to demand better from developers and publishers and hold them accountable for the messages they're sending to players. This is not just about one game series, but about the industry and culture surrounding it. Let's make sure that the gaming world is a safe and inclusive space for everyone.
That is so good.
Yep, AI generated. That is an AI generated Kotaku
We should
article.
do 100% of Moist Esports press releases AI generated.
That would be so fucking good. Someone in the comment to that made a really good point. Since all of journalism is freelance, like IGN made that
Someone
post.
could actually just do that.
Yeah, you could actually just farm them.
Yeah.
You could just, write these articles for free, just using ChatGPT, and just farm their $50 commission. It's a really good idea.
That was really good.
It is.
Some game journalists out there should just start doing that because it's better than you.
Actually, game journalism is just going to be obsolete now. Pretty incredible stuff. Artificial intelligence is developing at an alarming rate. It is just absolutely popping off and is constantly getting wilder and wilder. And this is still so early into AI. We are just now getting into it, and look how far it's already come. That is just mind-blowing to me. Flesh is cringe, machines of the future. I can't imagine a world where, going forward, this isn't utilized by every major game journalism outlet. Because that whole field is focused on numbers. How quickly can you puke out some garbage? It doesn't have to be good, it doesn't have to be accurate, shit, it doesn't even have to have any real information in it. Just, can you make a piece that has a headline that gets people to click on it, and then stay there for 2 or 3 minutes, and just churn it out as quickly as possible. Just this factory of dog shit. So, since it's just a quantity numbers game, you can do this endlessly for anything. There are so many pieces in the game journalism world where it's an article written about an absolute nothing burger that they try and serve up as an entree. Where it's like, I heard this in a game, and here's what I think it said. So here's 1,000 words about why, if it said what I think I heard, it's bad. Even though I've done nothing to confirm whether or not what I thought I heard is real, I'm still going to write about it, just to put that piece out there. That's something that Kotaku did a while ago, where they thought they heard a slur in Super Smash Bros. And wrote a whole piece about it. That kind of stuff isn't super uncommon in the field because, again, it's all about just pumping out as much as you can and collecting your commission for the work. So, ChatGPT being able to create articles that are completely indistinguishable from normal game journalist pieces, well, you can exploit the fuck out of that by just making hundreds upon hundreds every day and then just selling them to the outlets, and they'll probably buy them because they'll not know. If what I just read to you was published by IGN, you wouldn't think twice. If that was published by IGN with someone's name associated with it, fucking Biff Clifford, you would just assume, damn, more trash from IGN. You wouldn't think for even a second that AI was capable of delivering something that was actually coherent. You didn't just take that prompt and spit out garbled nonsense. It actually made an entire cohesive article around it, even though it was made off of nothing, like actual nothing, fucking blaming Elon Musk out of nowhere, and still somehow it incorporated it in a way that was believable and worked for the article. I just totally feel that going forward, game journalist outlets will probably end up just buying articles that were generated by AI, because they're not going to have any idea that it was AI generated. It's not like there's like a stamp that says organic made, human being approved, made by flesh and blood. Like, you're just not going to know, because right now, even in its infancy, this chat GPT is still able to make extremely believable articles that resemble actual pieces in the field. And even let's extend the scope bigger. Maybe they don't want to buy any pieces from game journalists anymore. Maybe that entire profession just dies, because why would they bother to pay someone to write articles for them when they can just do it themselves using the AI? They can write their own articles by just giving it a couple lines of a prompt for their piece and then publish it. And that saves them the money of hiring a writer or paying a commission on a freelance writer. It saves them a big expense. So why wouldn't they just go with the AI option? So yeah, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit because like I don't really see how game journalists can compete with AI being able to churn out this many articles this quickly and actually have them be this well made. So just something I wanted to toss out there to let people know that this kind of technology exists right now, and I imagine we're going to see it used a lot in the coming years. So yeah, that's about it. So yeah. Lying on a job resume or bluffing your way to a job that you have absolutely no idea how to handle isn't the most uncommon thing in the world. My favorite example of this is George Lazenby, who played James Bond for a single movie. He made up his entire resume, lied about all of it in order to land the role, and played it one time and quit. Dude had no acting experience at all and must have forged the best summer reading report of a resume ever. So he got to be James Bond on Her Majesty's Secret Service, and I love the poster here. Far up, far out, far more. James Bond 007 is back. More like fucking Lames Bond. Jesus Christ, that hasn't aged well. That goes to show you how much we've evolved. That is not the best tagline now, but I do appreciate it. Point is, forging a resume, making shit up in order to get a job, that's not unheard of. And today I was thinking back to some classic controversies and examples of this happening, and I remembered like 4 or 5 years ago, there was a couple cases where people pretended to be sign language interpreters and landed roles in major productions such as news broadcasts or events and concerts, and eventually people that actually understood sign language called them out because they were signing complete nonsense. It wasn't even close. It was blatantly way off. They were up there just doing the fucking scat man with their hands, not making any sense. They were up there like popping and locking, doing like TikTok dances basically, and calling it sign language.
Happened again. Another sign language interpreter accused of signing total gibberish. This time it was at the police news conference announcing an arrest in the Tampa serial killings.
We will be charging 4 counts of first-degree murder.
I don't know American Sign Language, but I do know she got one of those right. 4. I understood that one. A pretty high-profile case here, a serial killer, and I bet all the viewers that are hard of hearing must have been beyond confused as to the report that was being delivered from this lady.
Standing off to the side, apparently translating every word, this woman.
We received over 5,000 tips in this case.
But it turns out, much of what she was signing was nonsense. She waved her arms around like she was singing Jingle Bells.
I've got to admire the fake it till you make it attitude here, but unfortunately the only thing to make was a fool of herself. I decided to look at comments, which is usually very ill-advised. When you go into the YouTube comments, you're going into the swamp. But I really was curious if she was signing any real words at all, because even to my stupid, smooth little reptile brain, some of those did look like actual sign language, movements. And it turns out she was using some words correctly, such as kill and murder and arrested. However, most of it was gibberish. Most of it was just actual mumbled nonsense. So when she was doing all that stuff with her, fingers, none of that was real. I could have been up there doing, the Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1 salute, and I would have been making more sense than she was. It's also wild to think that anyone hard of hearing that would have been watching this broadcast might have been concerned for her health, because the way she's signing would have been like having a stroke. A ton of gibberish with a few words that get mumbled out would have been like going to an auction during a bidding war, where the auctioneer is just going fucking hog wild, like, Yeah, do I hear 555? Do I hear 55? I'm going on, going 1, 2, I hear 555 over there, 555.
Says one outraged sign language expert. The woman, identified as Derlin Roberts, has a string of arrests for fraud. So how did she come to be translating at last week's high-profile police news conference?
I just didn't ask enough questions.
I love this section where he just kind of pops in like, yep, it was me. I'm the fucking idiot. I did it. Like, he's just very upfront and honest, like a parent that caught their kid stealing a cookie from the cookie jar and just folding, like, no, it was me. I did it. It's my fault. I'm the dummy. Point and laugh at me, shoot your spitballs at me. I know. It was me. Also, at a certain point, I just have to admire this lady's grind. She was born for one purpose. Trolling. Like, her whole life has been nothing but fraud, and she still continues to go down that path. And she wasn't even getting paid for this, by the way. She did this just for the love of lying. So she had no experience signing, she also had a history of fraud, and still landed the biggest sign language interpretation position of that year. This serial killer broadcast was a huge one. I remember this vividly. So, hats off to her that she's still able to keep performing at a high level of fraud.
Tampa Police Public Information Officer Steve Hegarty told me the woman simply showed up out of the blue and offered her services.
My immediate reaction was, I didn't call for a sign language interpreter, but that's great that we have one here. I let her in.
Did this woman appear to know what she was doing?
To the untrained eye, and that would include mine, I didn't see any problem.
There's almost an art form for something being so stupid that it's smart. A plan like this, which at its core is just complete dogshit dummy, that it crosses over that event horizon into being genius. This is something where no one's gonna really question you, so she shows up like an angel. Hey, I'll be a sign language interpreter here, just so that way if anyone's hard of hearing and watching this, they can get the information. Like, oh, that's so nice of you to offer your services. Can you prove that you can do it? And then, if you don't know American Sign Language, you're not going to be able to pick up on, like, all kinds of moves with your hands and shit not meaning anything. So she could have easily faked her way into it, and she did flawlessly. Like the guy said, to the untrained eye, he had no red flags being tripped off, and they're not going to really background check someone that's offering their service for free, because what would be the incentive? Like, why would they be lying about it?
This latest embarrassment comes 3 months after it was revealed that the sign language interpreter at a Hurricane Irma news conference, also in Florida, made no sense.
The time to act is now.
Hegarty is summing up the latest goof.
We won't be using that woman again.
Cops say this was not a crime, but it was an ethical violation.
So we're going to get to that other sign language blunder in just a moment, because it also happened in Florida, and I also remember that one as well, because I'm from Florida. Now, as he mentioned, it's not a crime to be faking a sign language position, I guess, since she wasn't charging for her service. She didn't defraud them or anything. She just lied to them and pretended she knew what she was doing. They got pranked, basically. I bet she was giggling the entire way home that she actually pulled this off. She must have like a Facebook group that they do these high-profile pranks in or something. Like, I don't know why she would do this other than just having fun with it, which is still such a wild activity, like a wild hobby, to just pretend to be a sign language interpreter.
The time to act is now.
It was an urgent Hurricane Irma evacuation order, but look at the sign language interpreter on the right. He's actually signing total gibberish. What's he really communicating to deaf citizens caught up in the hurricane crisis? Words like pizza, monsters, and the sentence, help you at that time to use bear hug.
This situation actually has a lot more nuance compared to the last one. In the last one, it's like that Shaq meme, I'm unfamiliar with your game. I don't know why that lady pretends to be a sign language interpreter, especially when she's not getting paid for it. She does it just to make the whole broadcast silly and goofy. A mere mortal can't possibly understand her deep, complex motivations for why she fakes being a sign language interpreter. But in this case, the guy did not want to do this. He was forced to. And he actually does have a sympathetic background and actually does have experience with sign language, but told them he wasn't comfortable doing this and didn't think he was cut out for it. So they mention here that he was signing real words like pizza and monsters, both of which could be applicable to a hurricane. A hurricane comes around, you're probably gonna have pizza places being hit. Pizza's not safe. It's not like a fucking safe spot or anything. You might even have pizza flying around the hurricane that could be used as a projectile weapon. So maybe he had a whole spiel he was going to go into about pizza. Monsters, a hurricane is absolutely nature's monster. It's been called that since the beginning of time. And then about the bear hug. You know, better hug your loved ones because you might fucking lose them in the hurricane. There's plenty of ways of spinning that where it makes sense. But point is, he was using real words and actually stringing together sentences. They just didn't fully make sense at all.
Deaf actress Marlee Matlin posted, "This is outrageous.
Please heed our warnings.
The interpreter's name is Marshall Green. Officials in Manatee County asked Green to step in because no one else was available. His mom, brother Morgan, who is hearing impaired, and Morgan's fiancée Chauncey are coming to his defense today.
This is where the plot starts to thicken. You can see where the narrative is about to get real convoluted and confusing here. So, they called upon him, like Batman with the signal in the sky, in order to be the sign language interpreter for the evacuation orders for Irma. That's a very serious thing. The evacuation for Irma was a huge deal. I got evacuated during Hurricane Irma. Now, luckily, I didn't see his broadcast, and I don't understand sign language, because if I did, I may have ended up just getting a pizza and writing it out, which may have fucking killed me. Who knows? But point is, they chose Marshall, saying they had nobody else to go to, so it was their last-ditch Hail Mary, desperate attempt to get some kind of sign language interpreter up there for the broadcast to relay the information to the hearing-impaired community. I don't know how they chose him. Someone must have just been like, hey, I saw Marshall do the fucking Vulcan salute at the office one time. Good enough, bring him in. Surely he knows sign language.
He, told them he didn't think that he was able to do it, and felt like that they needed him to. So he said yes. The vocabulary for an evacuation is very different than everyday language.
I'm just asking, as someone hearing impaired, what your reaction is to this criticism. Chauncey signed my question to Morgan.
He only did what he was told to do, so please leave our family alone.
In this case, I really just don't blame Marshall for this situation at all. This is not his fault. He gave them warning that he probably couldn't do this and he didn't feel comfortable trying. His brother is hearing impaired, so he does know sign language, and his brother and family also confirm he does know sign language, but the vocabulary and the speed of the evacuation orders are very different than what he's used to, which is why he said he didn't feel comfortable trying it, but he still did the best that he could when they asked him to. So I do really feel bad for him and the family here, because this is really not his fault. He didn't want to be there. He didn't lie to get there, and he didn't try to, fuck the whole thing up. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about these because they popped into my head this afternoon, because I remembered there was so much sign language controversy for a year, where even outside of these two cases, a couple other sign language interpreters were revealed as complete frauds, and they were ones that actually traveled with bands and rappers where they'd sign the songs, and it turns out they weren't even signing anything close to the songs. So the whole thing was just a wild little trend almost, and just want to talk about it. That's about it. So yeah.